This is 2014 and this is 2023. The Australia India ties on a friendly pitch. Historically, the India Australia bilateral relationship is based on shared values of pluralistic, Westminster-style democracies, Commonwealth traditions, expanding economic engagement, and increasing high level interaction. The end of the Cold War and the beginning of India's economic reforms in 1991 provided the impetus for the development of closer ties between the two nations. The ever increasing number of Indian students traveling to Australia for higher education and the growing tourism and sporting links have played a significant role in strengthening bilateral relations. With the passage of time, ties evolved in the direction of a strategic relationship alongside the existing economic engagement. In September 2014, Australia's Prime Minister Tony Abbott visited India, and in November last year, Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to make an official visit to Australia after Rajiv Gandhi in 1986.
India will be very powerful because of Modi.
He also became the first Indian Prime Minister to address a joint sitting of the Parliament of Australia. At the India-Australia Leaders Virtual Summit in June 2020, Modi and Prime Minister Scott Morrison elevated the bilateral relationship from the strategic partnership concluding in 2009 to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Modi and Morrison spoke by phone on 3 occasions in 2021 and met in person in Washington, D.C. and at the COP26 Climate Summit. At the second India-Australia Virtual Summit in March 2022, several key announcements were made, including on a letter of intent on migration and mobility partnership arrangement to foster the exchange of skills and a letter of arrangement for educational qualifications recognition to facilitate the mobility of students and professionals. Prime Ministers Modi and Albanese met thrice last year. There has been a series of high-level engagements and exchange of ministerial visits in 2022 and in 2023. The External Affairs Minister travelled to Australia on February 18th and his Australian counterpart Penny Wong visited from February 28th to March 3rd. Australia's Education Minister Jason Clare also visited. Ties between Australia and China were strained after Canberra in 2018 banned Chinese telecom firm Huawei from the 5G network. Later, it called for an inquiry into the origins of COVID-19 and slammed China's human rights record in Xinjiang and Hong Kong. China responded by imposing trade barriers on Australian exports and by cutting off all ministerial contact. India has been facing an aggressive Chinese military along the border. New Delhi and Canberra have been assessing the Chinese challenge since 2013. The Economic Cooperation Trade Agreement (ECTA), the first free trade agreement signed by India with a developed country in a decade, entered into force in December 2022 and has resulted in an immediate reduction of duty to zero on 96% of Indian exports to Australia in value and zero duty on 85% of Australia's exports to India. India is one of the top sources of skilled immigrants to Australia. As per the 2021 census, around 9.76 lakh people in Australia reported their ancestry as Indian origin, making them the second largest group of overseas-born residents in Australia. The mechanism for mutual recognition of educational qualifications was signed on March 2nd this year. This will facilitate mobility of students between India and Australia. Deakin University and University of Wollongong are planning to open campuses in India. The 2+2 ministerial dialogue was held in September 2021, and the Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister of Australia visited in June 2022. The Mutual Logistics Support Agreement (MLSA) was concluded during the virtual summit in June 2020, and the two militaries held several joint exercises in 2022. Australia will host military operations with India, Japan and the US in the Malabar exercises off the coast of Perth in August and has invited India to join the Talisman Sabre exercises later this year.